Hello! Today we'll be talking about some of the settings on a DSLR camera. To start, this knob right here has all of these little symbols on them. Now if you don't know, these all stand for different things. Currently my camera is set in the manual setting, and that's where we're going to be for most of the day. You can also set it to shutter speed priority, where you can just change the shutter speed settings, aperture priority, where you can just change the aperture, a picture perfect setting where it just does it all for you, and these two are also different styles of settings where it chooses your settings for you. These two are for shooting film and panoramic, and then we're back to manual. So in our manual settings, you will see all of these different symbols, and so just some of them that you need to know are this right here, which is your light meter, including this small number right here, the double zeros, your ISO, your shutter speed, and your f-stop. So right here is your light meter. It is determined by the shutter speed and the f-stop. Basically what this does is tell you that your camera is seeing light properly and that it is currently a balanced number with this double zeros. If I were to put something such as my camera's lens cap in front of it, you can see that it changed to -0.3. So you can fix that by either changing your shutter speed right here to be a little bit slower, and see it turns out to 0.0, or if you don't want to change that, you can change your f-stop just a little bit, bring it down, and it'll also bring it back to 0.0. So what is shutter speed and f-stop? Shutter speed is how fast the lens fires. So if I take this picture right here, you can hear that it was relatively fast. But if I were to change it so that it's much slower, let's say half of a second, I know that this is very blown out and you wouldn't take a photo like this, but let's hear the difference. It's much slower. So the shutter speed is really important because if you're trying to capture motion and stop it, you would need a faster shutter speed so that the lens would fire faster. If you want something to be in motion, then you would use a lower shutter speed. F-stop is basically how big the opening is in your lens. So if you have a very wide f-stop, like an f/22, the hole is actually very, very small. It's kind of backwards from what you would expect. And so the hole is so small that you can see that it's too dark to let in any light. If I bring it all the way up to a 3.5, oops, I got it at 4, 3.5, you can see that it is much lighter, and that's because the opening is much bigger. So bigger number, smaller hole, smaller number, bigger hole. Very backwards. Now if you see this little number here, this ISO 400, this is how sensitive your lens is to light. So if you're shooting outside on a bright sunny day, you would want to shoot at an ISO 100 or 200 because that is going to be best for the light because it is going to be less sensitive. If you want it to be more sensitive to light, you're going to want to go up to about an 800. Now you can see on my camera there are settings higher than that, but you don't want to go much higher than 800 because if you have ever seen a photo that has, you know, a bunch of like spots and looks kind of grainy when it was shot at night, that's because the ISO was very high. So the higher the number of ISO, the more grainy your image is going to be. So that's why if you're shooting in light, you want it to be lower because then it'll be less sensitive to light. And if you're shooting in a dark space, you want it to be higher, but then you risk the chance of it being grainy. So those are some basic camera settings that you need to know when you start off shooting. Hope this helped and have a wonderful day.